Hello and welcome back to The Invisible Industry, the podcast where we discuss and educate on everything you didn't know about agricultural rendering, brought to you by the North American Renderers Association, or NARA. I'm your moderator, Anna Wilkinson. I'm the Vice President of Communications for NARA, and joining me as always is our host, Marcus Wintzer. Today we have a very exciting guest and co-host, NARA's Chairman, Michael Glenn. We're going to be talking about careers in rendering, what that means, what the options are, and how that ties into the importance of education on rendering. Without further ado, I'll go ahead and let Marcus and Michael take it away.
Thank you very much for that introduction, Anna, and thank you all for joining us here today. As Anna mentioned, our co-host today is Mike Glenn, the Chairman of the North American Renderers Association. Thanks for joining us here today, Mike.
Glad to be a part of this project.
One of NARA's main focuses has always been education. This typically takes the form of teaching the public about how the rendering industry is so sustainable and the things that we're doing that they might not typically see. Recently, NARA has expanded its approach to include ages from 4-H all the way up through college. Mike, could you go into more detail about how this process is working?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So after the start of the year, we launched this educational project through our communications committee. And one of the members of that committee was Dr. Martin, who's a university professor. And she really shed some light on some things that we need to really focus on people outside of agriculture, because she felt like that people in agriculture pretty much know about rendering either coming in because they have a farm or agricultural background, or they learn it or at least exposed to it at the university. But she felt like that there was a real lack of knowledge about rendering from people that either don't grow up in ag communities or they're getting into their second career. I think she called it second career phase of their life, where say maybe they were a data processing input person, or they had some other career in an office or whatever, even driving trucks, and never was exposed to rendering. And now they are looking for a second career, and rendering is a great option for people that are looking to do something a little bit different than what they've done.
So really, in the invisible industry, there's an invisible list of career options that people may not see. Typically, they're just focused on what's done in the plant or what's done out on the road. So that really brings us into what today's episode is about. We put together a list of questions and sent them out to several members of the rendering industry to see how they got into their jobs and what they think of the rendering industry. And without further ado, let's get into those questions. So number one, what is your name, company, or position or title?
Michael Glenn. I am the Chief Financial Officer at Birmingham Hyde & Tallow, doing business as BHT Resources.
My name is Carlos Ruiz, work for Sacramento Rendering. My position is plant supervisor.
My name is Chris Gay. I'm with Protein Products, and I'm the VP of Sales.
Glover Mayweather, company BHT Resources. In here, I'm a plant operator.
My name is Greg Oxley. I work for Birmingham Hyde & Tallow. I'm actually the general manager / regional VP.
Hey, my name is Jackie Kaluzny-Balmer, and I am the HR manager for Kaluzny Brothers.
Jerry W. Mayweather. My title is, I've got different titles. I'm supposed to be night shift supervisor, but I'm also an operator. Been here close to 50 years.
My name is Joni Nisley. My company is BHT Resources, and I do accounts payable, and I purchase all the supplies and everything for the office.
My name is Micah Salzman. I am the general counsel, in-house attorney for Birmingham Hyde & Tallow Company. I've been in that position for 14 years.
My name is Pamela Todd. I work at Protein Products Incorporated in Sunflower, Mississippi, and I'm the Quality Assurance and Logistics Manager here.
Shannon Lindsay, BHT Resources. I'm not sure my position title, honestly, routing dispatcher, I think, and I've been here 9 years.
My name is Tim Spence. I'm with Birmingham Hyde & Tallow, and I'm the Fleet Safety Director.
How did you get into the rendering industry, and how long have you been in the rendering industry?
So I've been in the rendering industry since 1987, so I guess that's 36 years now. I got into it sort of by chance, like you'll find a lot of people do. I answered a job ad at my community college in the career office. That was back when you had to go to a community college and flip through the book looking for jobs. Rendering position was advertised as an accounting clerk. And I responded to it and applied for it and hired on and been in that business ever since.
I got into the rendering industry through a friend of mine that used to work here at Sacramento Rendering, and I've been working for Sacramento Rendering for the last 20 years.
I guess I should start with Protein Products as a family business. My grandfather started back in the mid-'80s, so I've grown up around it my whole life. Been on board now for about 2 years. After college, I worked in the fly fishing industry for a while, guiding through school, after school, managed a couple lodges, and then worked for a travel agency. So quite a bit different from the world of rendering, but my dad gave me a shout about 2 years ago, wanted me to come on board with him, and it's been great. Got to move back home, closer to family, and get to work with my dad every day.
Basically just looking for a job, that's it. And once I got in, kind of liked it, so I just kind of hung around.
I've been rendering in industry 25 years, 26 years. Started with Griffin down in Fort Pierce, Florida, running a dock. Before that, I worked for BFI as a route manager, and I worked for Borden's as a driver and a route manager.
I officially joined the rendering industry a little over 2 years ago, but have unofficially kind of been a part of it my entire life, as my dad and uncles have been running our family business since I was a kid. The business has been in our family for 78 years now, so I've been learning about rendering and its impacts on society and the environment for truly as long as I can remember.
Well, at the time, jobs were scarce, and when I was looking for a job, so a friend of ours recommended us down here, so we came and we started to work and just decided to stay.
Well, I did not really have a career path, so I worked a little bit on and off here in high school and doing a lot of data entry, and so I became really good at it. And so when I did not make it through college, I came and worked here and ended up liking it, and it's our family business, so it ended up working out.
Been in the rendering industry for the last 14 years and had an interesting career path. Went to law school, fully intending to practice law. Litigated for about 4 years up in Lexington, Kentucky, and was not a huge fan of the law firm model and the litigation lifestyle. And so my wife and I moved to Birmingham to get closer to her family. And circumstances led me to Birmingham Hide and Tallow. I had no idea the rendering industry even existed before I was hired on at Birmingham Hide. And it has been an adventure ever since.
Well, my husband started working here first. He told me of a position that was available. When I started working here, I had no clue what rendering was. And I've been here almost 12 years.
It had more to do with routing than it did rendering. I was using the same routing program that BHT purchased, and they needed someone to use it. So here I am. I've been here 9 years. I've been doing the routing for 20.
I've been in the rendering industry now for 22 months. I was involved in the safety arena for transportation for the last 8 years. That was my goal to get in, but I was a CDL Class A driver for over 20 years as well. Been in operations, been in recruiting, and safety is where I found my niche, so to speak.
What surprised you most about working in the rendering industry?
I think the thing that surprises me the most initially working about the rendering industry was that just the sheer number of people that have no idea that it even exists.
I think what surprised me the most was the fact that a lot of people did not know, including obviously myself at that moment, the amount of material that is recycled, material being food, but most importantly, the benefits of the byproduct and what kind of byproduct is created out of all that food being recycled.
The people, our team here at Protein Products, our suppliers, relationships I've built with other renderers, our customers, that is all really, the people have really surprised me. This industry cares a lot about rendering. You have some very passionate people in and around the industry, which makes it exciting.
Just what was going on. Just different stuff. It's something different every day. Now, once you get hooked on it, you kind of get hooked on it, I find.
There's change every day. I mean, running a plant with drivers, you first of all, you're running a plant, and then all of a sudden you're controlling drivers, you're controlling the product going in and out. Every day it's a challenge, every day is a change.
What surprised me the most about working in the rendering industry is the vast scope of impact that our work has on the world around us. When thinking about the work that we're doing at just our plant, and then what that product goes into, it's truly remarkable to see how essential that product is to the average American's day-to-day life. We're creating those building blocks for society, from the ingredients that go into animal feed that then feeds the population across the country, to the oleochemical applications, to then fueling of airplanes with biodiesel fuel. So whether you're waking up in the morning and feeding your dog, or driving to work on an asphalt road, rendered product makes all of those things possible. And I think that's a pretty cool thing to be a part of.
Well, I guess it's a different job than any job. It's different. And you can't expect the same thing every day. There's always something different going on. So I guess that's about it.
I would say that the people that end up in the rendering business, you would never think that, certain people would end up in a business like this, but they do. And, they may not know anything about it, but they end up, knowing it and, really getting into the rendering business and really enjoying working here. Most of the people that work here have been here, 20 years like me. And so you end up just being a part of it.
I think what surprised me most about working in the rendering industry is just the number of industries that we touch. We really get involved in so many facets of the economy, which makes it exciting. It leads to a lot of diversification of what we do and what someone like me is able to get involved in. But anywhere from our fleets, we have such large fleets, and managing drivers, fleet safety, to the environmental side of the business, to the sales side and the product quality. It's just we touch a lot of different industries.
I think what surprises me the most about the rendering industry is what all is actually rendered. Not knowing anything about rendering when I first started, I never given much thought to the inedible parts of the animals that we eat. So knowing that roughly about 50% of the animal is inedible, it's awesome that nothing goes to waste.
A lot didn't surprise me much coming here, because my first job, I was an insurance agent, and we had a couple of byproducts plants that we insured, had to go on site for them. So I think mostly the part that surprises me about this is how much the public doesn't know about us. We kind of operate in the background, and therefore we're in our own little world, a bubble, so to speak. But when the whole world is moving around us, they don't really see what we do, but we can see how what we do affects everything. So that was really surprising, I guess.
So you mentioned accounting clerk. Was that your first job in the rendering industry?
Yes, it was. I wouldn't say it was as high as accounting. It was more like analytical stuff, since I didn't really know a lot about accounting. I just started it in college. It was more production analysis and doing inventory and things of that nature. So more of clerical types of jobs, but eventually got into the area doing more accounting, more analytical work with the numbers.
My first job started as a laborer, worked through labor for about 6 months, and started climbing the ladder till I got the position of plant supervisor.
I've just worked at Protein Products, and when I first started out, I was a sales associate.
I was cutting up boar hides, cutting up hog hides with a knife. Cause the little pre-breaker they had was too small to grind them up, so they had to be cut up into smaller pieces. And that's basically what the first thing I did when I come here.
My first job in rendering was a dock manager at Fort Pierce, Florida. That was a really hands-on job. I actually filled in for drivers when they didn't show up for work or they went on vacation. I did tank maintenance. I painted containers. I did little middle maintenance on trucks, and I transferred all the material from the trucks to the tankers. It was a learning experience, and the great part about the job is that it's OJT, on-the-job training. You learn stuff, this job you have to be willing to learn every day.
First job in rendering is the role I'm in today. I manage our human resources department and am responsible for the people side of the business. And that includes everything from performance management and coaching, union correspondence, payroll and benefits, organizational planning, and really so much more. But I guess if I were to be technical about it, my first job in rendering was probably when I was 8 to 10 years old, mailing out our Christmas gifts to customers during the holiday season. And like any family business, you got to start somewhere.
My first job was loading batch cookers and cleanup.
Data entry and probably answering the phone a little bit. I wasn't very good at the answering the phone part.
My first job was the in-house lab tech position here at Protein Products, and I was in that position for 8 years.
This was my first job in the rendering industry, here routing and dispatching. I came here from essentially a medical field industry.
My first job in the rendering industry was here at Birmingham Hyde and Tallow as Fleet Safety Director. Part of my duties are regulation and compliance, training drivers, making sure that we take every avenue we can to keep the company as safe as possible.
What advice would you give to people who are just entering the rendering industry?
I would say don't be shy about anything. Ask lots of questions. There's no such thing as a stupid question because our industry is so unique that if you come into it knowing it, then you were either born into it or you already work for somebody else. So don't be shy about asking questions. Learn as much as you can about the process from the very beginning to the very end, because there's so many facets of our organization or of our process that people just, it's kind of hard to understand if you don't understand the beginning to the end. The more companies you go around and visit that are in the renting industry, you'll see a lot of long-term employees, which sounds kind of strange in a business that's not really that glamorous. But you'll also see a lot of family members working in companies if they don't have a nepotism policy. You'll see a lot of second, third, or even fourth generation people working in the same business or the same industry because the parents came home and said what a good job they had and they enjoyed working there.
I think my advice for those that are coming into this business is to not be afraid. There's always challenges. There's always something new. And just not be afraid. I know perception might tell otherwise, but do not be afraid.
My advice would be make friends and build relationships. We face obstacles, problems all the time in the rendering world, whether it's in the plant, moving product, purchasing raw material, you name it. And if you don't know what to do in a certain situation, or someone on your team doesn't either, it really helps having good connections in the industry, because more than likely someone else has dealt with that same situation.
Well, yeah, like I say, it ain't for everybody, but if it's for you, you get in and stick with it. But everybody can't stick with it. But if you do, it's pretty good. Pretty good job.
People just getting in the industry is learn as much as you can every day, because it changes so fast, and to grasp it, to really learn it, is to learn everything you can, because it's constantly changing. The plant is changing, the workers are changing. Your job duties change daily.
My advice for getting into the rendering industry would be to think outside the box. Often when we think about rendering, we're thinking about that production side of the industry and the physical rendering work that we're doing. And there's tons of jobs related to that. But there's also so much more that goes into rendering. We have drivers that are needed to bring our product in, sales representatives that are needed to acquire material from our customers and vendors, maintenance crews that keep our operation running and keeping our equipment afloat, and operational administrators that are involved to those day-to-day logistics within an organization, handling our payables or working with customers directly. So really, if you're passionate about rendering or recycling or making a positive impact on the environment and want to be a part of that type of industry, you can be involved in so many different ways. So whatever your unique set of skills are, there can be a role for you.
I got to say, it takes a special kind of person to do this kind of work. First thing you got to do, you got to make sure this is the kind of work that you want to do. And after that, then just go for it.
I would say there's a lot to learn. It's not all, set in stone. There's a lot of different aspects that I would say there's a lot to learn.
I think the biggest thing when you get involved in the rendering industry, you've got such limitless opportunity in front of you. And I think the worst thing you can do is to get too focused on one part of your job and just say, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to focus on this one area. Get involved in the business. Roll up your sleeves, get your hands dirty, learn every part of the business that there is to learn. That's going to really make your career, and it's going to make your work life so exciting, so interesting. And it's also going to create so much value in you as an individual contributor to the industry and honestly just to the economy as a whole. So my advice would be take it all in, take it all on, and just get as involved as you possibly can.
That it's okay if you don't know anything about rendering. My degree is in child development. So when I started here, I didn't know what rendering was. So my advice is don't be afraid to jump into the rendering industry because it's a great place to work.
One, there's a lot of different jobs. It's not all having to do with rendering. Like me, I route, I dispatch. I could do that for a drinking bottling company. I could do it for a medical company. It doesn't really matter. But also I think as we move toward more sustainability, this is an industry that'll be around. And it's also tends to be smaller. It's not as corporate as a lot of places. So I prefer that.
When you get out there and you see what's going on and how it affects the world that we live in, you start to imagine what would it be like if we didn't have this industry? What would be the ramifications of that? So be prepared to be surprised.
So what would be your sales pitch for someone who's looking at rendering as a career?
Give it a chance. Renderers are very good employers. They're very loyal to their employees. The great thing about rendering is it has to be done locally. You're not going to have your job exported to a country overseas unless the meatpacking plant around you closes up. And there's lots of upward mobility. There's chances to get out of the plant, get out of the truck, and become a manager or supervisor, even an executive position, and get into different areas. If you want to get out of production and get into sales or loss prevention or something like that, there's unlimited places you can go with your career path.
My sales pitch would be if you're looking for a full-time job, 40 hours a week, 365 days out of the year, and want to secure a job, this is your path. Like I mentioned earlier, do not be afraid. Always be willing to accept the new challenges. There's always challenges in this industry, and as long as people keep eating, we will always have a job here.
If you want to make a difference, feel like you're making a difference, be a part of something that's important, the rendering industry would be a great career path for that. If you want to bring meaning to your career and what you're doing. It's like the NARA website says, if renderers didn't exist, every landfill in the U.S. would fill up in 4 years, which It's a very sustainable industry. It's something that's needed, something that's got to keep going. And we need more people getting involved.
Get them to try it and see how you like it. If you don't like it, then you ain't got to hang around with it. But if you like it, it's pretty good. Not too many layoffs. It's a steady job, and there's always something to do.
I would try to tell them that it's an industry that's not going anywhere. You know, we have longevity. A lot of our workers have a lot of longevity, so people like what we do. You know, it's a dirty job, you know, but if you want to learn something and you want to keep working and progress in a company, it's a great place to start and to work your way up.
My pitch to have someone consider a career in rendering would be to ask them, what role do they want to play in the world? There are thousands of jobs out there in so many different industries, but by working in rendering, you can know that you helped improve our transportation system and means of transportation, lessen our carbon emissions as a nation, and provide people with the modern day essentials that make our lives so much easier. So to me, that makes that day-to-day work pretty meaningful.
Just give it a try. Just like any other job. You can't make them like it. You can't make nobody like any job. You just give it a try. If it's for you, you'll know. And in a week, you'll know. That's the only advice I could give them.
Well, I mean, it's a green industry, and I know a lot of people are into that. And we're the original green industry. We started in way long time ago in the 1800s. So, I mean, that's something to look for people to consider for sure, because I know a lot of people are wanting to go green these days.
I think the rendering industry is a very underappreciated opportunity that's out there for young folks looking to get into their career or their next career. I think the biggest advice I would give to someone looking for a new industry is, hey, the rendering industry has got so much to offer. Like I have said, I mean, it touches all parts of our economy, or so many parts of our economy. You know, you can specialize in one part of the business, but you're gonna get involved in all parts of the business. And you know, really, I think the opportunity is there to make a difference beyond just creating profits.
The rendering industry is a great industry to be in because it's a sustainable industry. Inedible parts of our food will always need to be rendered. So if you're looking for a career that makes a big impact in the world around us, rendering is where you want to be.
It's like when I have to liken this to I work with foster kids, and a lot of times when they are coming out of the system, they don't really know what to look for, and all they see is the storefronts. They see McDonald's, they see fast food, they see Walmart. And sometimes I tell them a lot of times, sometimes you got to go beyond what you're seeing on the surface and seeing, okay, who supplies them? Okay, what is that big building back behind there? What do they do? And you've got to look in arenas like when they look at Indeed and they see exactly what different industries are needing somebody. Look into the company and find out. We've seen a lot of times bringing people in, we've seen they know nothing about the company that they're about to work for. And that really doesn't say much about them because they really need to know where they're going to be working and what that company does. So do a little bit of research into the background companies, what companies take things from the start and move it through a system to get to that storefront.
All those elevator pitches really make the rendering industry sound like a great place to work. If you're interested in a career in rendering, check out the NARA Careers page, which should be up on your screen right now. I'd like to thank everyone who took time out of their day to record these video messages. I'd like to thank our co-host Mike for being here today. And I'd like to thank Anna, as always, for being our moderator. And of course, I'd like to thank you for being here today. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time.
Marcus, just to add one more thing to what you added about the NARA Careers webpage is Render Magazine also has classified ads that have jobs in it. And also I would recommend all the members' websites be looked at for positions on those. But to you and Anna both, thank you so much for having me be part of this podcast. I really enjoyed my time.
Thank you, Marcus. And thank you again, Michael, for joining us. We can't tell you how much it means to have the chairman on the show. Thank you for everything you do for NARA members and for all our rendering friends. And for all of you out there who've listened to the show today, if you've been inspired by today's content and you're curious about looking into careers in the rendering industry or just to see what your options are, we encourage you to visit our brand new careers page by visiting NARA.org and scrolling down to careers. Thank you again for joining us. We hope you'll join us again. And for all our rendering listeners out there, as always, stay seen and stay green.